Skipping ain't easy, but it's necessary. I be getting weary, cause shit be getting scary. But sit back, relax, and don't you dare worry, cause I be hitting wrongs with a righteous fury. Yes, sir, see, I am the only one. My name is Josh Dunn, gonna have some fun telling the truth y'all can't handle. I might raise a scandal as I dismantle the fake, make them quake and make them shake. I make you bend, but never will I make you break. Just chill, yo, and don't be frightened. Open that closed mind, it's time to get enlightened.
Howdy folks, and welcome to Gimpin' Ain't Easy Cause It Ain't, episode 15. Wow, we're halfway between 10 and 20, and I think our show has just had its first sip of underage alcohol. Good thing shows don't have mouths, cause this thing is awful delicate and wouldn't hold up too well in juvie. But it's already done a fair bit of community services, so I think it deserves a celebratory sip. We're brought to you once again, as always, by Cafe Sempoal, where this week's feature book is Kenneth Clark, that's Sir Kenneth Clark to you, his 1969 book called Civilization. This is actually based on a BBC TV series of the same name by the same Sir. While completely Eurocentric and really only ranging from about 1100 till, I guess, 1969, I haven't finished it yet. This is one of the best books there. It's very readable, surprisingly detailed, and the pictures are breathtaking. Please don't buy this one, because I'm going to add it to the Josh collection when I'm done. All books at Sempoal are $5, and you can exchange them for a coffee if you don't like them enough to keep. We're also brought to you once again, as always, by Charlie's Club, where most shots are $2.75 on Tuesdays, so even if you make some real bad choices, you won't go broke making them. Guess what, folks? Toddy is back to work full time, and Laura has apparently skipped town. If this show had anything to do with the latter, then that's hilarious. But seriously, I'd much rather you just pay your tab and apologize. We all make mistakes, so do the right thing, you hooplehead. No need to move 2 towns over. We're also brought to you this week by Second Cup, where you better get 2, because we might mess up the first one. John Gibbons is an idiot. I'd wanted to talk about this for weeks, but kind of forgot. Then we had a bit of break in shows. But yes, folks, the infamous intellectually challenged Blue Jays skipper has finally been canned. In many ways, it'll be a bit sad for me, because one of my favorite things was to blame mine and the rest of the world's problems on John Gibbons. It's John Gibbons' fault I don't have a girlfriend. It's John Gibbons' fault Trudeau sold arms to the Saudis. It's John Gibbons' fault that it snows. It's John Gibbons' fault that the Blue Jays haven't won the World Series in 25 years. Wait a minute. That last one is kind of true. But seriously, this guy sucked. He had a bullpen fetish. Now, in some ways, this is symptomatic of baseball and generally nowadays, but I swear, he used to go to the mound to change the pitcher because it was like the only time he ever got any fucking exercise, man. Bullpen needs to be used when your starters are tired, when the game is close. And the starter, you gotta get all the pitches out of him that you can if he's capable of throwing them. But you see, more importantly, if you go to the pen right away, you probably got to use like 4 or 5 arms to get through the game, and you burn up your relievers. Over the course of the season, if your pen gets burnt, you're fucked. And besides, if you're losing 5-zip, the bat's got to get going, man. The pen can only do damage control. They can't score you no runs. Dum-Dum seldom played small ball. If you're demolishing other teams, then, bunting and stealing bases doesn't really matter. But even then, if you're demolishing, shouldn't you practice small ball strategy for when you might need it? Power slumps. Speed doesn't unless it's injured, and sound strategy never fails. Even if you do all the right stuff, you might not win, but you sure as shit shouldn't manage to lose. Consider this. The major league average for thrown out runners is less than 30%. So with them odds, in close games, say 3 runs or less, winning or losing, if your runner's got average or above speed, shouldn't you practically always run to second and third? Who can forget that famous debut of Rasmussen in the bottom of the ninth, tie game with bases loaded? And you debut this kid, you dummy. You should never debut a rookie in a high-pressure situation unless you don't have a choice. It could ruin their career. And it did ruin this fella's. And I'll never forget not pinch running for as slow as Molasses Navarro with the game on the line in the playoffs. Both me and Double O said Gibbons should have been fired right then. So thank you to the Blue Jays brass for finally getting this right. Good riddance, John Gibbons. You managed to lose, hooplehead, troglodyte motherfucker. Well, folks, the welfare gods are angry with me again, or at least they're just wanting to be resolutely unfair. First, they've decided to remove my transportation allowance because now everyone gets a free bus pass. I think free bus passes are a great idea, but chances are people who need extra for transportation might not be able to take the bus. I could probably manage more than a wheelchair user, but with that neurogenic bladder, I can't be going on the minute for stuff, so regular bus is a no-go. Excessive bus is also a no-go because they can be an hour early or late or just not show up at all, and that just doesn't work when your body dysfunctions like mine. So I've gone from a whopping $923 a month down to $845. My doctor's note might be able to change this. Let's hope so, But no big deal, right? I got a grant to do that film. Well, here's the real skinny. The grant is paying me $650 a month. Normally, welfare allows you to make $300 before they start clawing back on your check. But I just found out, just before recording this actually, that they consider a grant self-employment, so they're deducting 100%. So I'm now getting a big fat $195 a month for them to bring me back to that $845. So I'm getting welfare wages to make this movie. Here's the thing, folks. An arts grant ain't a business, and I ain't well enough to put in the hours to run a business. I can't even do a fucking shift of work. I gotta be able to do things in small intervals. I gotta live my life an hour or two at a time. Though it may not be the intent, I'm being extra penalized because I'm extra limited. Guess the government wants me to sell drugs. I don't know, folks. Think I should sue them for discrimination? Tune in next week for my thoughts on why everyone should be entitled to a guaranteed basic income. Folks, here we are at Gimpin' Ain't Easy 'Cause It Ain't, episode 15, the guest portion. I am here with singer-songwriter extraordinaire Laura Merrimen. And just before I introduce her fully, I want to say this, in a way, kind of continues my family tradition from last time. So we're adult versions of the Brady Bunch stepchildren. So I wasn't a horrible brother, was I?
No, you're great.
How you doing today, Laura? What's going on?
I'm good, thanks. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're. This is a kind of auspicious occasion, being 15. That's a nice big number.
Number 15. Yeah.
So you're in, and I've had more musicians than anybody. I don't really know what that is.
Well, I guess there's a lot of musicians in town.
Yeah, I don't work with them as much as I do comedians, so maybe that means musicians are more willing to work with me because they don't hate me as much yet. Or...
Oh, I don't think that's the case, but
no, that's just me, Josh, mostly. As far as I know. I've only had bad relations with two people in comedy, and they're in management positions that they're no longer in, so it doesn't matter. So fuck those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, they don't matter anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So, as I often start off with folks, I want to ask, what was your childhood like?
Well, it was cool. It was really cool. Both of my folks were musicians while I was growing up. As you know, my dad, Mark, is a bass player. My mom was a singer, and they're in a band together. So that was pretty interesting. Having that being part of the daily life. Lots of music around.
Right. You growing up with and did they tour?
No, but back then they got hired to do like 5 or 6 nights out of the week at one spot. So, they were still like out a lot, and they did do. They traveled around the province, I think, but
right, but no extensive.
Yeah.
U.S. tours.
Yeah,
or
they're a
anything
really
like
cool band, though. Like, I remember seeing them as a kid, and I was just like, oh my God, like, looks amazing. And I'm sure that's where it came from in me. Like, I got the bug early.
Yeah, and it just looked so cool. Like, it's a good thing, they weren't some old burnt out Vegas act or something, just miserable and hated doing it. And that could have ruined your passion for the arts.
They're
right?
super hip.
Yeah. Were they mostly doing covers at that time?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah, because from what I've been told, the 80s was, and before that as well, was like, it was big business for these bands to go around doing cover songs of like a lot of major hits.
Yeah, it really was.
And that's what people got out to and danced to, and
totally.
that was like that was the version of going downtown in the 70s.
It was, and it was before DJs took over, right? So there's that whole and then DJs happened. So, which, DJs is fine. It's a whole different thing, but it definitely killed the music bit, nightlife a little bit, I think, as far as live music. Anyway, different tangent.
you might have killed live music, DJs, but we don't hate you that much.
You're okay some of the time. Yeah.
Were there... I know that you, as a youngster, sailed a bit and stuff. Were there other creative things besides music that you were interested in?
I don't know. I found music pretty early, and I always kind of like to draw and paint and like make things like. But I mean, yeah, I was into sailing, and that was great. That was a great summertime activity. And then everything closes up in the winter out in the country. So I don't know. I smoked a lot of weed. I don't know. I guess.
Yeah, that's a creative endeavor.
It turned into be.
Get me through high school.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I might have to do grade 10 English 3 times, but I really know it by then. I got used to the writing the tests high, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I did, and that's I'm not joking about that. I did skip class a lot in mostly grade 12. Like, I was a super loner. I would go out and get high by myself in the woods and listen to Jimi Hendrix.
That's both kind of sad, but yet amazing and wonderful at the same time.
Yeah, I didn't think it was so sad. I just felt liberated. I don't know.
Right.
I just was super happy to be by myself in nature,
Yeah. I don't need nobody, man. I just need Hendrix and drugs.
Totally. It's a bit of a cliche, but it's the real. It's the truth.
Well, I too would prefer Hendrix and drugs to most people, I think.
Yeah, it sure beat sitting in home ec class or whatever.
And I just want to say for anybody young that's listening or think I don't actually support underage drinking. I mean, kids are going to experiment, whatever, but I don't mean to be
I don't
promoting that as a good thing for you to be doing,
Me neither, by the way.
Yeah, right. And I think the thing is, have a little fun, but, wait, I think really wait till you become an adult to go full. I just recommend that,
Yeah.
I mean,
Agreed.
Yeah. Just,
find your own course.
Right. Yeah, see, and if we had done that, we both actually might be making money doing this interview right now. So, see, that's a side for you too.
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. I don't think, well,
silly.
if we do want to get into it, I don't think I would have found, my voice
right.
as much. You know what I mean? Or I wrote a lot of poetry in high school, and that was the beginning of songwriting. So I definitely wouldn't have delved into that if I hadn't been smoking weed.
It's really interesting, yeah. So it did open the the
Yeah,
gates for you
absolutely. Oh,
creatively.
absolutely.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we have to talk about that now. And you know what? It's
Yeah, we
legal.
can talk about it now, which is
Yeah.
great because like we spent so many years. I wouldn't ever talk about it openly, right? Although lots
Yeah.
of people know that I smoke, but
Right, but yeah, you wouldn't put that on your job resume or something. But
No.
like now an employer can ask this kind of thing, like if they ever ask, like, did you drink,
Yeah,
right? You just say,
yeah, I
oh,
never thought about
oh
that.
yeah, socially or okay, right? So that I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
you probably wouldn't want. Oh man, I get high like 18 times a day. You probably don't want to say that, even if it's the case, right?
No, and probably still not though, right? Because people still judge you on that stuff. I think.
Right.
I think maybe being a musician, it's a little more accepted for me to, like, oh yeah, is that a double standard? I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny. I've never been in and not that I've been in every type of music environment. I'm not a musician, but I've never been in a music environment or music show or something like that where there wasn't some weed.
Yeah, that's just it. I mean, it seems to go hand in hand, and drinks and
Yep.
and other things too, right? It just depends.
Yeah.
It's around.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And so I was even so it was really high school that you were doing the poetry and stuff like that. The stuff that ended up becoming song lyrics maybe later
Yeah,
on.
totally.
But were you singing at a real early age too, or?
Yeah, oh, yeah. Like I was like a young kid, like, and I was singing along to all this, like, Madonna and whatever, right? Like, and I don't know. I was pretty precocious as a kid, and then I got really shy.
Was that the same time you were listening to Jimi Hendrix and Smoke
Well,
Weed in
that
the
was
Woods?
a little bit before that.
Before that?
Yeah, Neil Young happened, too. But no, I got really shy in my, like, preteens and early teens. And, I guess that just happens.
Yeah, I think I was shy like all the way through and still am, although, more gregarious when I'm comfortable, I would say.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think it takes years of time and practice to be comfortable with yourself after you go through, like, that big change, right? Like, and then it's, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in a man's case, we get a whole new voice, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. And we get tatas.
I tried to get tatas, but it was too expensive and not
Yeah.
covered.
Yeah, you don't need them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have enough trouble getting around. If they were too big, I'd like trip.
Yeah, it's
Fall.
a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, I better get off that. I feel like if I just start talking about breasts for 20 minutes, that's not very appropriate, or nor would I do a good job. I just don't know enough, folks. I'm sorry. So when did the playing instruments part come in? Would you say?
Like 15 or 16, I taught myself. There was a guitar around the house, and I taught myself how to, and also an Eagles greatest hit songbook. So it had all the words and the chords. So the Eagles songs were some of the first songs that I learned, and I taught myself how to play based on that.
Based on the Eagles.
Yeah, like
Wow, that's wild.
yeah, Crying Eye or Lion Eyes. Do you know that song?
I don't know if I do.
You can't hide
yeah.
your lion eyes. Yeah.
The cast of
This is
crew
great.
knows it, and I recognized them singing it though.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to do that. 80s tunes escaping.
But yeah, I mean, everybody shits on the Eagles, but hey, I think they're killer songs, and there's like so many hits. But yeah.
Yeah, I never really got into them, but you know what? Like, the majority of the world, I think, would agree with you because, like, they're a huge mega band, you know what I mean? So, it's like saying...
Totally. Like, if you think about all the radio hits that they had over a span of whatever it was, I don't know. I'm not going to say a number because I don't know. But it's incredible. You'd be like, what? There's that, and there's, like,
Yeah,
there's
like
at least 20.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, at least 20 years span that they were pulling out number one or
Yeah.
basically number one hits.
Yeah. There's a reason.
Yeah, that's speaking to something, and it's really
Yeah.
cool. I want to ask, so you could play the guitar, right?
Yeah.
So, can you play others as well? other instruments?
Yeah, I'm pretty much self-taught with everything, but I play harmonica and piano a little bit. And I play a good steady 4/4 on the drums, and like can pick some stuff out on the bass. But like piano and guitar and harmonica are the staples.
Yeah, how much more do you need? You don't want to be putting drummers out of business, you know?
Well, maybe I do.
Maybe you do. There you go. She gonna get back at
No,
the
I don't
DJs in
know.
her own way.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is like I do like to challenge myself to for learning purposes,
Oh yeah, totally.
and also to be self-sufficient sometimes is great as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. You don't always want to have a band. Like. It's probably too corny, but I was thinking like, and have you only ever had guys in your band?
Up until that's a good question. Up until just recently, I started playing with a girl named Jill Chambers, and she plays upright bass.
Okay, yeah, I know that name. I don't think
Yeah,
I know
she's
her.
a great player, and it's, geez, not that I would not have played with females in the past. It just, never happened that way that I found any.
Is right, and is there though generally? Because I would guess yes. Is there like more fellas than women just involved in music? Period.
Yeah, well, it's changing. It's
Right.
changing now, and in like when I started, like it was all, mostly it was all males, and there would be like a couple females, and I was like one of the couple females or whatever, but. It's different, and like in Toronto, I noticed a huge change. Like it's even like 50-50 almost.
Oh, wow.
Like tons of females and in mixed bands. It's not just like having a token female in a band as your bass player or whatever, right? Like it was really neat to see. I think in smaller cities that happens a little slower.
Right.
Right, so there's less of it here, but there's still a good amount of female showing.
No, that's cool, and it is changing and it's getting better. Yeah. So
yeah.
I'd actually thought of it's probably too cornball, but if you ever were just playing with a band full of dudes, and you wanted like a band name.
Oh man, I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah. Laura Merrimen and the Merry Men.
Laura and her Merry Men.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that at least once a month.
Yeah,
For
right.
people, which I should have kept count.
Is it too corny though?
I think it is. Like I don't think I could ever do it. No, I can't go there.
Because like is like really, but it's almost like it's too much, right?
It's way too much.
Yeah, and like it would almost work better if you were a comedy musical act, which you're not. Speaking of comedy, I wanted to seg this in because I sort of introduced it funnily in the background, but Laura and I know each other, and I mentioned because her father and my mother are together and have been so for 20 years as of this past May. So that's when we first came into each other in the teenage years. I think Laura had already turned 15, and I would do so that summer. And I just remember some of those first things. Like we watched some of the UFC from like the 5 years before that. Do you remember this one time? Man, this dude, like, and he wasn't one of the big names, but he was like doing good, and he got his pants ripped off in the and you'd seen more. And I said, "What's he gonna do, man? His pants are." And he had like he wasn't naked or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But you were like, "Oh yeah, no, this level of shit that they just say they don't. That doesn't even faze them. They're just staying in the fight." And you're totally right. And he won the fight. He wasn't phased. The announcer didn't even
so
fucking
funny.
comment on it.
That's so funny.
Does that ring a bell to you at
It
all?
does ring a bell,
Yeah.
but my memory is terrible for
Right.
Specifics. But yeah, absolutely it does.
If I ever got buzzed up enough, I probably brought it up to you before, like over the years since, because it cracked me up. And so like they'd be watching movies, and then we'd switch and get them, like we'd be sharing the movies, and that would be the Saturday night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting times.
Yeah. And completely in between being a child and an adult as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that was a really neat time for us to meet. Really, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize it's been so long.
Yeah, 20 years.
Wow.
We're fucking getting old, man.
Yeah, I know.
It's so frightening.
A little bit.
You know, jeez.
Yeah.
Is my hair gray or is my vision deteriorating and I can't see colors?
I think you're doing all right. Your hair's not gray yet.
So it's the eyeball.
It might be my eyeballs, though.
No, mine. I'm saying,
Tired.
I'm seeing phony gray hairs. So you, I'm gonna guess maybe 2012 or so, decided to leave the Halifax scene and get going in Toronto. There.
No, it was later than that.
Later
I
than
only
that?
spent 2 years in Toronto, so.
Okay, so like 15. Yeah,
Wait, it would have been 2016.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, did you just got back this year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
in May.
And what was like? Did it just seem like there was going to be more music opportunities out there and all that?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was a mix of things. I had just come out of like a long relationship and needed a change. You know, like.
Complete change of scenery
Yeah,
to
I
get
needed
out of
a
that
change of
scene.
scenery. I needed a change of people and vibes, and I also did want to like, you know, I had wanted to go to Toronto for years, but I never got around to it, kind of. So I
Right.
just said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go," and it was cool.
Yeah, I often fantasize about the same thing. You know, just having the bigger city and all that. Yes, that's interesting. There was personal stuff in there too. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's good.
yeah. And what ultimately led to you coming back? Would you say?
Oh well, geez, you know, Toronto is it's hard sometimes. It's also very cool, and some days are great. But ultimately, like, I don't know. It was a bunch of things. Like, I was given a dog, like a puppy, and I couldn't find anywhere to have us, like my cat, my dog, and I. Because Toronto's housing market is so crazy right now. Like, it was. So that was a factor, and also it was.
She had to flee the big city for the safety and welfare of her pets, folks.
Well, that was part of my decision for sure, but I also did like miss home, and my part, like I felt like little parts of my soul it was just not being like sparked, you know, where I was. Like the time had run its course in Toronto, and it was time to go, so I did.
Right. Yeah. No. I often think, you know, without family or friends, which I think are the two things that most comprise, you know, the elements of home, right?
Yeah.
Without those natural connections, I always imagine you could be just very, you know, empty and, you know, desolate. I mean, if you get signed to like a major record label or something like that, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna produce your first 3 albums or whatever, you know, maybe that might have, but.
I don't know.
Not
I mean,
even
at
then?
the same time, it's like I had a great life there too. Like I had a lot. Like I just so happened a bunch of my friends moved up at the same time, so I had a
Oh,
pretty
okay,
strong
okay.
friend group. And you know, you etch out a little life for yourself, kind of, no matter where you are. I could, you know, it's like when, you know, it's like you just flip a coin. You could go this way and it could be great. You could go that way. It could be great. It just depends on, you know, which one you choose. But yeah, it is also, it's nice to have your fucking family.
Yeah. Your fucking family.
Your fucking family. I miss them. I did. So, you know.
Yeah. No, and I think both of us are lucky to have. I think we probably both have some bad elements in our family, but we have a lot of good elements in our family too.
Totally.
And some people don't have that. Like some people have really challenged family scenarios and don't even get. So I think that both you and I have been fortunate in that regard.
That's a really nice thing to say. It's true. Yeah. I mean, man, yeah. Fuck. We're just.
Well, yeah, just like what could you do
I'm
without
grateful. Yeah, I'm just really grateful because I do recognize like how good I've had it with both of my parents. You know, like they're both pretty special, and your mom too is a special lady. So it's yeah, you know, and also my mom's husband is great too. You know, it's
He's
like
cool.
you
Yeah,
would-
I never met him, so I never had
Yeah.
any impression of him. I think I know his name is Adrian.
Adrian,
And
yeah.
So I know his name. That's all. And I think he's a professor or something.
No,
He
he's retired now, but he was an electrical engineer. And,
Oh, jeez, I'm way off.
yeah, you're way off, but he was a project manager, I guess, as well. So anyway, I think my point is that it's like you didn't choose to have my dad in your life, and
No,
I didn't
exactly.
choose that either, like your mom, you know. But in their energies throughout the years, you know, it's like it's cool.
Well, and because I just thought of how to really classify, because you say good, but I mean, for the thing I think that what they mean to me, and just how you feel that love for family is like with every fiber of their being, and even like sometimes I feel like maybe Tonto doesn't quite understand what I mean or stuff like that, so that's maybe a disconnect, but not
Yeah.
against anybody or anything like that, but
Yeah.
with every fiber of their being, they're trying to help you.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh
So-
man, they just want the best for us.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't
Yeah.
get any better than that, really.
No, it doesn't.
You know.
No, it does not.
So, yeah, I guess I wanted to switch to your career a little bit. Like,
Sure.
how many albums have you done now?
3.
That was going to be my guess.
That was so I just released it my 3rd last month.
It was just last month. Yeah, I was going to ask
Yeah.
if any's coming up. Probably not right yet. Or is there plans to record another right yet? Or?
Well, I mean, if I had the means, I would be recording all the time. Like I have like 2 albums worth of music that I'd like to get out at this point.
Oh wow, awesome.
Yeah, I've been like writing a lot since I've been back in Halifax, which is really interesting because I didn't write very much in Toronto.
That's curious too.
So that's the whole thing. But yeah, no. So I don't know. It takes money though. It takes or I need to get some good recording gear myself. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Takes money or things falling off the back of a truck.
Yeah, something like that, or donations.
Yeah, right. we don't need to rob you if you'll just please donate generously.
Well, things are different now. Like think about the Beatles. Like they stopped touring, and they had all this time, and just to go in the studio and be kooky and experiment and do
A bunch of
or whatever.
drugs, yeah.
and come back and build these fucking fantastic things, right? Like imagine if people now, I mean, they're able to do that, I guess, but it's it's not as supported. They're not like
Right.
if they choose to do that, they're supporting themselves doing that, like locking themselves in their room and going to work, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, things are different.
Yeah. I would have thought they could have come up with all those great. Well, and I mean, most of the album's great, but that number 9 song really weirds me out. I don't see the point of it, right? But-
I would skip out over
but I mean, hey, I guess that's part of the expression too. And one thing that I want to point out from you talking about just doing more writing once you're back in Halifax, I never thought I'd say this, but just for the sake of writing material, it's like you left Toronto to come to Halifax for the sake of your career, right? If you weren't writing any new songs out
Isn't
there.
that funny? Life is like full circle. You know, it was good for me in Toronto though for other reasons, and it's almost like I learned those lessons and I came back here and released the album that I'd done in Toronto, and now I'm learning other lessons and getting other things accomplished. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
it's just all circular.
No, that's
That's
great.
another reason why I'm not a flat earther.
Right. Oh yes. Yeah. We were joking about the flat Earth thing before the
Yeah.
movies, and I just because I don't know. It seems like every other person I talk to these days.
Really?
Well, not maybe, but a quarter of people are like at least considering it, right? So I'm just curious about it, and I actually don't have an opinion because I don't know the science enough.
Right,
I'm that dumb.
Good stance. I don't either particularly, but I just have a feeling, a gut feeling that my at least my world runs in circles or spherical things, or like that I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but like energy wise, it's completed with that.
Well, and I also think too, like it kind of, and again, this is really, yeah, people have to forgive me out there because I'm really not a science guy at all, but it seems to me like that a spherical Earth tends to like think of things in like a three-dimensional way, whereas like a flat Earth where potentially, I guess, if you could fall off the edge, that's a 2D, and I just don't see the world as 2D, so that's how like where my brain goes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like, does it ever end if it
Right, if it's a line, yeah, it might just go on forever.
and maybe that's a possibility. I mean, that's but where's the beginning? And if there's no beginning or start, then it would have to be connected.
It would have to be God. You know, the flat Earth is God, folks.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you have shows coming up soon?
Yeah. I'm doing a showcase at the Nova Scotia Music Week in Truro.
Oh, wow.
On the 3rd, November 3rd.
Okay.
Which is
can
cool.
folks buy tickets somewhere?
Yeah.
Do you know where?
Yeah. Well, I think on the Nova Scotia Music Week website, they have like they can buy the passes or the whole festival pass or day pass or whatever. Yeah, so that's coming up.
So Music Nova Scotia website, they can go on there and then find what they need?
Yeah, and then there'll be like a pull down tab, I'm sure, that says like tickets or
right,
or like passes or something.
Or and like a map or whatever the fuck you need to find where you're going.
Yeah, exactly, because there's a bunch of different shows in different venues, which is really cool. And it's good Troy's not too far.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'm doing a show at the Stubborn Goat on November 10th, which is going to be really neat.
That's like, is that the one by the Lord Nelson?
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
right by
like,
there, right?
Yeah, like where Pizza Corner is, but like, I can't remember the name of the street. Do you know what I mean? I think it's the same
kind
street.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, you'll be able to. I mean, the Stubborn Goat's online and stuff. So that's just a show you've got coming up here locally.
Yeah, that's the Halifax show I have coming up, and they just started doing live music there, and I'm really interested to see. Like, I think it's going to be a really cool show, and I have a somebody that's playing with me too, and it'll be our first time playing together, so that should be interesting too.
That's funny.
Or no, it won't be there. Well, we're taking it in advance. So.
When rooms are like having comedy for the first time, I'm often reluctant to go in there because I think like I just don't know the vibe, right?
Totally.
And I also think that like because it's a new thing, maybe nobody knows about it, so nobody's gonna be there. So I kind of like to like just wait and sort of catch the rumor and stuff before like scoping a room. I mean, if it's paid gig, totally different story, right? Or even if I'm doing like poetry or hosting for somebody, I'm actually more like keen to just try that anywhere because like with comedy you're like playing to a laugh, so if nobody's there nobody can laugh and it can't work.
Oh, totally.
Whereas like the other stuff, like
absolutely,
it's shitty to do for nobody, right?
Absolutely it is,
but like you can still do it, you know what I mean? You're not waiting for like the reaction on every note. So,
no, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I also have been hesitant to play at places in the past but this is they've been doing it for a little while at least. So there's been people playing there
so
enough that I think it'll be cool.
Yeah,
but it must be super hard to be a comedian. Like I think way harder to get up on stage and tell jokes than it is to play a song. That's kind of my thought, getting back to what you're saying about like having a crowd.
I guess my response to that is yes and no. Like it's actually easier, right, in the sense of like technically speaking, because like you only have like all you have to know, at least like form wise at least, to be a comic is to talk, right? And before anybody shits on me, I'll get more into that later. But like for you know to sing or to have to be able to like play an instrument, that's almost like a completely different. You have to know a different language, right?
Sure. Yes, definitely. That's one way to look at. But if we're thinking of it as like your comedy routine as your act, and you put a lot of time in crafting it, right?
Yep.
And look at a musician playing a song and that song, whatever, that's time put in, crafted.
Yep.
It's like wrote the set list, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you know, if you base it on those, it's, you know what I'm saying?
Kind
So-
of. I think where I was going to go with this, to take the other side, where I said like yes and no. Here's the part where it is way harder than music. It's because you are only talking and you don't have like the help of like melody or instruments or like being in tune to
Well,
accompany you.
exactly.
You have to do so much more with just the act of talking.
Absolutely.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's harder in that sense that you have to do it all with like no tools, right? No,
Yeah.
no helping aids.
Yeah.
So to actually do comedy, no, you've got to know a great deal more than just to talk, and it's actually quite complicated to know how to talk and all those things.
Absolutely, and also like the history of a set of jokes, or the history of like a material from a certain personer, right? Like that. It's like, if you're gonna have a good routine, whether it is comedy or music, I think you need to have a good understanding of all of those other things.
Yep.
You know?
Yep, totally. The elements that are surrounding you, what makes
Yeah.
sense at the right time and why, and how one night
Yeah.
might be totally different from another night.
Totally, and like how, like if there's 3 people in the room or 20 or whatever, like, yeah.
Now, here, I just can't, I've never actually gotten into this, and I'm just going off the top of my head, but here's something that I wanted to think about that's interesting. Like, with comedy, with a small crowd, I typically play louder, because I'm trying to, like, ramp them up, you know, and more intensity, whereas a big crowd, I would play it more cool and casual and let that wave carry me.
That's interesting,
But,
yeah.
And I would think
Yeah,
in
yeah.
music it might kind of be the opposite, especially if you're doing quiet songs.
Yeah, I think it might be the opposite. I get way more nervous if there's just 3 people in the room.
Oh yeah, me that's the same. Yeah, because it's like it's gonna be hard.
Whoa, but
Yeah.
then like, yeah, I end up like you have to connect with each. You can't just ignore that there's 3 people
No.
there. Like, I want to know their names if they're gonna sit and listen.
Right.
You know.
But you're hitting them probably more quietly.
But absolutely, sorry,
Right.
I keep getting off topic.
Oh no, you're on it totally.
But yeah, it's definitely, it would be a quiet approach. You know, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully they're not like the 3 of them aren't sitting there
But you don't want
drowning
to
you
put
out.
them to sleep
No,
either,
no.
right?
Okay,
Or
okay.
like, so there's a
So
fine
you got
line.
to ramp them
There's
up a
always
little
a
bit
fine
too,
line.
maybe. Yeah.
I mean, that's where it gets a little tricky. And what's different about music, because you got this vibe, like you can go into it and play this really quiet, lovely lullaby, or you have the ability to manipulate the energy and play something groovy, or play something heavy and make people feel certain things. Like, it's kind of incredible.
Right.
Isn't it?
Well, yeah, man. And who am I to say in terms of like crowd specifics, right? Like maybe those
Yeah.
3 are all angry looking dudes with mohawks, right? So they,
Yeah.
you gotta.
I'd want to play some like fucking grungy.
Yeah,
I'd probably
yeah, right.
be grungier, like if it
hit
was
their vibe,
Yeah, and then I
Whereas-
think that happens like without even thinking about it too much.
Obviously, yeah,
you know?
it's just so instinctual,
Yeah.
that you just kind of know if you've been on stage enough and done this kind of thing long enough.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just sort of getting to the last few questions here. I was curious, this can be more than one. It doesn't have to be, though. I would ask, what would you say have been some of your greatest difficulties in life?
Wow, that's a heavy old question.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is your choice. It's
How?
something you don't want to talk about. You don't have to.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Let's see. I've definitely I've battled with being insecure for a long time, and confidence. That's been a big one to go overcome.
Yeah, I've had a lot of those too.
And right, and it affects you. It affects everybody in different ways. And for me, it just so happened that I found myself in abusive relationships over and over again. and that it's like that lesson that I needed to learn over and over again until I got it right, because it was like, I had to figure that out for myself.
Oh, totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause that's right. People can tell you all this and that, but it's your life. You're the one living an experience on a continual
Yeah.
basis, and you have to be the one to be able to get out of that.
Yeah, and that's just it, right? And until I found my confidence, that wasn't going to happen, right? So that was a cool lesson, and also a hard lesson to learn. I don't know.
I think
You
too,
know.
like in that cool way, like some of our greatest challenges, if we do the right shit, can become our greatest strengths and advantages.
I think so too. It's like, it's cliche for a reason, but like, whatever doesn't kill you will make you
Yeah.
stronger, right? Because
Yep.
yeah, man, we just got to keep on keeping on,
Yep.
and we become we have a greater value because we expand. Right?
That's right. Yeah, you had to become better
Yeah.
and able to conquer that.
Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that a lot. And so, on the positive side of that coin, then is what would you consider some of your greatest accomplishments?
Shit, I don't know. I mean, there's been physical accomplishments, which I always feel like those are goals, and you get them, and then once you have them, it's kind of not good enough, right?
Right.
I think just like being able to get my head out of my ass enough to
better
see
view.
it's a way better view, but to like see the big picture, and to be compassionate for other people, and like, I think there's a bigger, that's where it's at.
So your greatest accomplishments have been able to
Yes.
get a better view, a more wide view. I was going to try to take it seriously, but you're laughing.
Yeah, no, sorry, I know.
So yeah, and
That's funny.
basically, yeah, to be able to get beyond your own personal problems,
Yeah.
and to see the greater world more accurately, and then be able to respond accordingly.
I think so, and to like, this all kind of ties in because I do Reiki as well, and
Right.
that all just it's all this like this journey. It's like a spiritual journey that it's like, and it's energy based and it's love based, So it all
Right.
kind of ties in, and it's like I'm still learning. I'll learn every day.
And you're connecting with the greater stuff that we
Yeah.
all feel, or at least all potentially can feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think everybody can. And that's the beauty of it. Like, I think everybody, well, you can give it a name, right? But it's just like love energy when it comes
Yeah.
down to it, right? So I think everybody's just, they're so capable of tapping into it. It's just a matter of like being able to, let go enough to let it happen.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think like some people, myself included, even, and some people this is a negative reference for, but like someone like me, I'd even call that God, because I think
Yeah.
that's what that truly is. It is
Absolutely.
that love energy, and
Yeah.
if one can like truly tap into that, in some ways that can be the greatest accomplishment I think you have in life, period, because then you're able to see that, and obviously nobody knows for sure what happens after death, but you're able to see
Yeah.
that there's something greater than this life, and what can be, to have that little peek or hint at the eternal,
Yeah, absolutely. It is a little, well, I think it is a little piece of that, right? Like, sorry, I got way too sound.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm even like debating myself and going like, I think I'm making all these wonderful philosophical points, but like, am I really just intoxicated? And I think the answer to both of those is yes.
Yeah, I think I agree too. I think we touched on some really neat things, like, yes, I just get off track. The love energy is God energy, I think, and you can call it whatever you want to call it. And as long as you're tapping into it, who gives a fuck?
Yeah,
What you
yeah.
call
You
it?
know what? And
You
even
know, like-
I take it like a step further than that, just in my own frame of thinking, because I think about folks who that can mean like a negative thing for them, or they don't like see anything out of the natural world. Then for me the answer is, well, just try to just try to be the best person you can. And it doesn't really, you know what I mean? If you don't have those, you can still be like an awesome person, and you're still like participating in the good of life. So I think that's totally fine.
Yeah, it is. I think so too. I mean, and it's like that thing where what you put out, you attract, like the law of attraction, right? So yeah, if you're putting out gross energy and you're feeling negative, then you're going to attract that to yourself, and people will be that way to you. But like if you're doing the best you can, or at least trying, you're naturally going to attract that back to yourself, and that will just continue to grow.
No, I think that's bang on, and you made me just want to go silly with this, because like let's say it's not good or bad. Let's say somebody's basically doing all right, but like their biggest thing is that they have really bad hygiene issues, and they're just putting out stinky vibes. Like would that resonate, or like
I don't know.
You know what I mean? It's not like it's not good or bad. It's just like they just don't like having a bath.
Well, maybe that's but I mean, if they mean well, if they're
That's what I mean. Power to your stink power.
Sure. It's just a byproduct, I guess.
That's right. Yeah. It's just like a personal taste, like a flavor of ice cream. Mm-hmm. Stinky and clean.
That's funny.
I'm getting very silly. Before I ask you the final question, is there anything you'd like to add to this?
No, I don't think so. It's been nice chatting with you.
Yeah, it's been real nice. And do you have a website or a fan page or anything where folks can?
Yeah.
What's that they should go to?
The website's lauramerrimenmusic.com. MERRIMEN.
There you go. I almost tried to do it, but I was like, I don't know if I can do it quite right in this particular scenario. So, sweet. So you can go to lauramerrimenmusic.com to catch her 3 CDs that are out there available for you, as well as upcoming shows that you might want to see.
Yeah, thanks.
So that brings us to our final question. What do you think the meaning of life is?
Well, that's interesting, because I knew you were talking, but I think like I think my answer is the same as what we were just talking about. Like,
right. Finding that universal connectedness.
Yeah,
that
thank
love
you
energy.
for putting it that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, and as cosmic as you want to go with it, like, who knows what, I don't know what our life purpose is, but I feel like the more we do all the things I already talked about, the better everything will be.
Yeah, totally. And I also think too, like when you're saying about that, like find like your own purpose or whatever, like and I think that's different for everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think like if you do have sort of feelings about that God energy and that universal connectedness, that is a great help in finding your specific purpose on Earth as well. So that's another way I'd look at that.
Yeah, there's beauty in everything. It's all just how you look at it.
Folks, there's beauty in everything except my kitchen sink. She's been Laura Merrimen. I've been Josh Dunn, and like I tell you to end off every show, remember, look yourself in the mirror every day, especially when you're feeling low. You give yourself that Ric Flair, woo! And tell yourself, I'm the greatest of all time. I know I am. Good night.